Hi, I'm Kit. This is me. I used to be thin, now I'm a whale, but that's not important right now. One day I woke up and we were all living in a zombie apocalypse. Not cool! So everyone stayed home and watched YouTube. Hooray! I watched for a while and liked what some people were doing so much that I decided to have a go too. I've always been a big film buff, and back when I was skinny and had hair, I used to make films with my friends. Some even had royal premieres. So although I don't make films anymore, I still like to talk about them, and that's what this channel is all about, at least for now. So, good people of the apocalypse, I'm Kit, and this is my world. Hello lovely people, hello, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm doing Mary Poppins, Cherry Tree Lane, home of George Banks Esquire. Yes, Mary Poppins, the 1964 Disney film that ruined an entire series of classic English literature, and we love it all the same. Okay, so Mary Poppins is the 1964 musical fantasy adventure film directed by Robert Stevenson, produced by Walt Disney and starring Julie Andrews, Dick Van Dyke, David Tomlinson, Glynis Johns, Hermione Baddeley, Karen Dotrice, Matthew Garber, Elsa Lanchester, Arthur Treacher, Reginald Owen and Ed Wynn. I'm reading off Wikipedia. It helps because I can't remember names. Anyway, it's a film that we all grew up with. It's been around for what seems like hundreds of years. That's because it was made 10 years before I was born. And it is a classic. It was an instant classic. Everybody loved it except the author P.L. Travers, upon whose series of books the film is very loosely based. Travers famously had no intention of ever allowing Walt Disney to make her books into a film. She despised the idea. She was an extremely rude and crotchety old lady. So says everybody who met her. You can listen to tapes of her berating all the Walt Disney staff during meetings in pre-production, and she was clearly a woman not to be trifled with. She believed, and quite rightly so, that Disney would Americanise her very English stories and make them twee and make them overly sentimental and fill them with cartoons and make the whole thing like a Walt Disney film. She was 100% right. You couldn't pull one over on P.L. Travers. However, Disney spent 10 years wooing and cajoling her until eventually she relented, and for reasons purely financial, she allowed Disney the rights to make Mary Poppins. P.L. Travers was a wily old bird, and she had it written into her contract that she would have full script approval. Disney somehow let that through, and the result was that she took up permanent residence in his life for the entire pre-production period. She didn't let anyone get away with anything. Her ideas and suggestions were quite often outrageous, and it became clear to everyone involved that she was really doing everything she could to sabotage the project, because she wanted the money but she still didn't want her character Mary Poppins and her cherished English stories to be ruined and Americanised. Sorry, but Disney did have a little bit of a habit of Americanising classic English literature. So she was right. However, her involvement in the project elevated the end result far beyond anything that Disney could have achieved without her input, unwanted and annoying as it may have been. One only has to look at The Gnome-Mobile, a film made by Disney directly after Mary Poppins by the same director, crew and most of the same cast, to see what a mess Mary Poppins could have been if it hadn't have been for P.L. Travers' unwanted interference throughout the process of making Mary Poppins, because despite some of her crazy ideas and suggestions, she actually did elevate the entire standard of filmmaking, and she prevented a lot of bad things from being done to the film. She was quality control, and we thank her for it, because of all of the Disney films made in that era, Mary Poppins is probably the most intelligent, the most lucid, for want of a better word. I mean, let's face it, we had pink elephants on parade and all sorts of very strange
experiences.
Winds in the east, there's a mist coming in, like something is brewing, about to begin. Can't put me finger on what lies in store, but I feel what's to happen all happened before.
A spoonful of YouTube makes the quarantine less shit. The quarantine.
So, now that all that preamble is out of the way, let's get down to the nitty-gritty. The songs by the legendary Sherman Brothers. Mary Poppins features some of the best songs of any of the Disney musicals from that era. The Sherman Brothers really understood how to make a good British feeling musical. The Sherman Brothers drew inspiration for their songs from lots of different sources, including Old Time Music Hall, which was a theatrical tradition akin to vaudeville, but it was the British version of vaudeville, and it was Victorian essentially, although it lasted well into the Edwardian era. So the kind of songs that you might hear in a music hall are exactly the kind of songs that you can hear in Mary Poppins. And also they included things like Soft Shoe Shuffle and a lot of influences, very intelligent choices on their influences, because it doesn't feel like Broadway, it feels like London. The set design by Julie Andrews' husband, whose name I've forgotten, I'll put it up on the screen, is extremely theatrical. By design, it looks like a stage production, but a very good one, with extremely expensive and well-made sets. But it's beautiful. The scenery is beautiful. It's all filmed in front of gorgeous painted backdrops, and I'm talking about the painted backdrops now and not the sodium screen for the animation sequences. The cinematography by Edward Colman is filled with nostalgia and rich, oversaturated colours, exactly the sort of look and feel that one would want for a film such as this. The visuals for Mary Poppins are a feast for the eye, as are all the musical numbers. I can't think of a single bad musical number. Perhaps I Love to Laugh is a little bit naff, but everything else is perfect. The animated dream sequence, the Jolly Holiday sequence, is overlong, and I imagine P.L. Travers is still revolving in her grave over that one, because one of the main promises that she extracted from Disney when she finally relented and allowed him to make the film was that there wouldn't be any animated sequences and no cartoon animals. Cutesy cartoon animals were not her thing. And lo and behold, there's this elongated, extended animated sequence with singing and dancing penguins and merry-go-round horses and the pearly king and queen and barnyard animals, and my God, she must have hated it. Oh, but it's actually quite fun. I don't hate it. I don't love it. It could do with a few trims, but it's alright. I've seen worse. In stark contrast with the light-hearted frivolity of chalk pavement pictures, and perhaps best exemplified by Peter Ellenshaw's exquisitely atmospheric matte paintings, is the sombre number Feed the Birds. It's a dark, sophisticated piece, with church bells tolling in the background, along with an eerie choir and animated doves swooping through the smoke-choked London skies. This was Disney's favourite song, and he frequently requested it be played to him in his office. And of course, Feed the Birds sets us up for the last part of the film, in which George Banks gets fired from his job and loses all hope and basically becomes rather depressed. This happens in a bleak bank environment. It's completely the antithesis of all the bright, oversaturated, joyous world that we've explored up until now. And for that reason, it's very successful, because the contrast, the juxtaposition between the bank environment and the kids environment is all too telling. This is a story, after all, that is really about George Banks. It's about the dad. It's not really about the kids, as you discover if you see the fabulous film Saving Mr. Banks, starring Tom Hanks and what's her name, Emma Thompson. Yes, the film is about saving Mr. Banks, and the final portion of the film takes us to that place. It forces him to reevaluate his life, his decisions, his beliefs, his ethics. Everything changes. He gets fired from his job and becomes a different man, and it's the making of him. However, it's a dark place for the film to go, set up beautifully by Feed the Birds. And as Mr. Banks walks through the deserted, damp, dark streets of London filled with mist and smoke, he bumps into a chimney sweep who reminds him that it's all right, really. And that is a comforting thought, is it not? And then, of course, the movie finishes on the absolute high, the literal high, of Let's Go Fly a Kite. You can't go any more extreme than the brink of despair with Banks losing his job, followed by Let's Go Fly a Kite. It's symbolic of his decision to finally become a dad and to take an interest in the lives of his children while he still has them. And it's a lovely way to end the film. It's redemption, it's unity, it's all the good stuff. It's a reason that we can sleep peacefully at night, knowing that Mary Poppins is there looking after us all when we need it most. Go fly a kite. Go fly a kite. Fly that kite, brother. And of course, in the midst of all the joy and celebration, while everyone's distracted flying their kites, and by crikey they had a lot of kites, Mary Poppins makes her exit quietly and without fanfare, and that is a beautiful way to end a film that could have gone in many other directions. Really, Mary Poppins has just gone from strength to strength, and it wouldn't have happened if it had just stayed a series of books. And on that note, I will bring it to a close. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you did enjoy it, you know what to do. Hit the like button and hit the subscribe button and ring that pesky notification bell. And once you've done all of that, please feel free to leave a comment. I'd love to hear your thoughts and suggestions. So until next time, see you later.